Hi, my name is Nula Harkins. I'm a nurse practitioner in diabetes at the Children's Hospital Westmead in Sydney, Australia. Type 1 diabetes occurs when the body is no longer able to make insulin. Insulin is made in the body in an organ called the pancreas, but when you've got type 1 diabetes, the pancreas is no longer able to make insulin. When a child is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it is very devastating for the families, and there is a great degree of guilt and what did I do to cause my child to get diabetes. It is nobody's fault. It could not have been prevented, and that is a really important message to get through to families, that they couldn't have prevented it. They didn't cause the diabetes by giving too many sweets or the wrong diet. It's not contagious. Their brothers and sisters are not going to catch diabetes, but it is important to remember it is a lifelong condition.
Daniel was diagnosed when he was just about for 1 month. He's 4 years old. And the first thing for me, it was heartbroken, devastated, and absolutely sad. And I don't know what to do, and I turn and question myself, was that my fault that he got diabetes? Or because of the diet I give it to him every day? And I turn and ask the doctor and specialist, and that time they answer me that it's not my fault, and it's not because of the diet I give it to him. It's just the nature of itself, like if he had a virus and had a cold or sick and the virus attacked his pancreas, and that's why it happened. And so on, I still feel very, very sad and upset and angry, and you name it, it's all there. And I still keep asking questions, and day by day, and until now I tend to settle down that it's not my fault, and that I accept that the fact that he has diabetes with his own immune system attack his pancreas.
Well, the management of diabetes, it's really a balancing act between exercise, food and insulin. Now, the 5 steps that I see are the most important is monitoring your blood glucose levels, and people with diabetes should monitor at least 4 times a day their blood glucose levels. Also then, in order to work out how much insulin your body needs, monitoring is very important. Injections should be given into a fatty area in the body, and the most regular places to use would be your abdomen or the upper outer aspects of your buttocks. And insulin injections, people with diabetes should always have insulin.
It's now time to eat, so firstly I need to have my needle. There are a few places where I can have an injection, which are in your stomach and in your bum. To have an injection, we pull this off and attach it to the needle and take the safety cap off. We then make sure that it's working. Take a bit of fat in your stomach and put in the needle. Then you push down and that will release the insulin. And then you can safely pull it out.
A healthy diet is very important as well. A healthy diet for everyone, but especially people with diabetes should speak with a dietitian to get advice on the right management.
So children with type 1 diabetes can definitely have a happy and healthy life. We strongly encourage that they eat the same foods as every other child, and especially at the same meal times as the rest of the family. For children with type 1 diabetes, the most important thing is that they have carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are what we call energy foods. So when they eat them, the body breaks them down into glucose, which is what we're measuring. So it's kind of like a car that needs petrol. So in order for it to run, they need to ensure that they have their carbohydrates. Foods that are carbohydrates are things such as rice, bread, noodles, fresh fruit, milk, things like potato, corn and sweet potato. The most important thing with these children are that they need to have their regular meals. So they would definitely need to have their breakfast, lunch and dinner. And for a lot of the children on insulin, they'll need to have mid-meals as well. So that's their morning tea, afternoon tea and supper. If these children tend to miss a meal or wait too long, for example, for longer than 3 hours, their blood sugar levels can drop to be quite low. If they end up eating all of their carbohydrates all at once and then nothing else for the rest of their day, their blood sugar levels will be very high and then they'll be very low. So the main key for these children is that they're aiming to have the same amount of carbohydrates for a particular meal, so for example breakfast, and that it's about the same time every day as well. So it's important for children to have a balanced diet such as rice with some meat and some vegetables, and to have fruit as well for a nice balanced diet. Children with diabetes definitely need to grow tall and strong, so they need to have a balanced diet. So things such as protein foods like milk and egg, fish, chicken, they need to include that in their diet. And we strongly encourage that they have lots of vegetables, so things like their lettuce and their carrots and their cucumber and their water spinach, okra and all those other things. Like all other children, children with diabetes shouldn't have things like cakes or lollies too often when they're just sometimes foods. The only thing we ask that these children don't have a soft drink and things like sugarcane juice.
Exercise is also very important, and I don't mean joining a gym. I mean regular activity like regular walking is enough. And obviously one of the most important, or the fifth step I would say, is regular checkups with your diabetes team.
Well, with the coping with his diabetes, until now I'm coping very well, because with the help of the team from the diabetes education, and from the doctors and everybody around, it's just amazing. I cope it very well. Without them, I don't think I can cope it. With managing his insulin and his diet daily, I follow the advice from dietitian from the hospital, and with the doctor following up every 3 months, I have to come for the following checkup, and from there she will advise me what should I do and how much insulin I should have to give to him. So to that, and with dietitian and the team around me, I'm coping well and managing well, and what else can I ask for? So he's doing very well. I'm doing very well too, so I'm glad.
With type 1 diabetes, your blood glucose levels can go high and they can go low. We do aim for a target blood glucose level between 4 and 8, but when your blood glucose levels go low, less than 4, you need to treat that. It's a hypo episode. But your blood glucose levels can go high as well, and they can go high simply because you have eaten too much food, or you haven't given enough insulin, or you haven't been as active as you normally are. But they can also go high when you are unwell. And if your blood glucose levels are greater than 15, you should check for ketones, especially when you're unwell. Because if we don't get rid of the ketones in the body, they can lead to a very serious condition called diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA.
For managing diabetes, it's very important that the child gets their insulin, and most important as well that they get their regular meals as well. If they've had their insulin and they don't eat their meals, then they run the risk of running very low blood sugar levels, which can become quite dangerous as well, and that's what we call a hypoglycemic event.
When he's unwell, I notice he's tired. He's not doing the activities as usual he want to do. Agitated and angry sometimes, and just want to just sit down or just curl himself in one corner. Yeah, and that's when I noticed he's unwell. That means his glucose coming down. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Ben, and I just feel a bit low right now. So we're just going to do a quick blood glucose check, sugar level. So So we've loaded it and stuff, so now I'm just going to prick my finger. And it's 3. So that's a bit low. So right now I just feel a bit shaky, so I need to have a bit of jelly beans or juice or something with a bit of sugar to bring the level up. I think when my blood glucose levels go high, it's probably if I've eaten too much and haven't done enough insulin or done enough exercise, or if I'm sick. When my blood glucose levels are high, I feel a bit sick in the stomach, bit thirsty, and in turn that makes me go to the toilet a lot as well. When I'm high, I usually test a lot more than usual, and if I am over 15, I'll usually check for ketones, and if I do have ketones, I'll ring the hospital and get their advice.
When Daniel unwell, I would test him for the blood glucose in his blood. And if he's over 4, in between 4 and 8, I know that it's okay. But if he's below that, I have to give him something kind of like carbohydrate to bring his sugar level up. But when he's unwell, when he's sick, like vomiting or fever, things like that, I have to bring the hospital up, and then bring the hospital up and bring him in, because when he vomit, he bring all his food out and the insulin still keep working. It is very, very dangerous for Daniel. And when I get to hospital, they will give him a drip. In the drip they got some kind of sugar, so we'll have him to bring his glucose up. When I notice he's, when talk to him, when his breath is smelled.
How does it smell?
And the smell is unpleasant smell, and when you smell unpleasant, so that I notice that, because with going through with him, so I know that is unusual smell, and then I have to check. I check his ketone, and normally it go up to, if the strip and thing say that over 17, and I also can go and check his blood glucose and from the test, and they said check his ketone, and then I will check. Yeah. This is the book. This is the book. I always go back to this. This is the basic, but it's got all information I need to help Daniel out. Because also that when I read this book, I will remember what I got, and it seemed like the second nature for me. And this is the book very, very helpful, and I always go back to this book to get information to help Daniel out, because sometimes you can't get the help very quick. So all is here. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Ben and I'm 14. Diabetes doesn't really affect your life on a great effect. You can still do what you want. I can still go swimming, I play soccer, you can still play football, all that sort of stuff. I hang out with my friends still. It doesn't affect your life as a lot of people make out it does. I can still fulfill my goals. I can become a doctor if I want to, or policeman, whatever you want to do. You just have to take it in consideration that you do have diabetes, and you should be a bit more careful and alert. So you can still live your life how you want to, you just have to be a bit more careful in your day-to-day activities.